Now, I love basketball. You guys know this. I love college hoops. I love NBA basketball. So as we inch a little bit closer and closer to the start of the season, the Jazz right now, a lot of the players are over in Finland actually visiting Lauri Markkanen. And training camp is just a few weeks away. We'll lean into some NBA and college basketball coverage as we get a little bit closer to the season. Right now, we're going to be pretty football-centric for the next few months. But it really came down today. So I had Alex Jensen, head coach of course, the Running Utes, on the program, I don't know, a couple months ago. And off mic, he told me how excited he was about his point guard for the upcoming season. And I think a lot of people believe that, this young man, Nam Yakov is his name, could have potentially been the best player on the team. I'm getting some programming porter in my ear. I'm not sure what's going on. So it came down today that Nam Yakov has been deemed ineligible to compete by the NCAA. This is, I don't fully understand why. It honestly, like, I have been looking around. They basically have said he's been developing in Europe, but when you look at one of the main avenues to add talent to college basketball rosters since NIL and transfer portal became a reality, it has been Europe. It has been players that have played professionally in Europe. Hell, players have played in the G League. Players have had NBA Summer League experience and have been allowed to play basketball for NCAA teams. There have been some players that have been on NBA benches that end up back in college because they're able to make money via NIL. There are rumors that Keba Keita is going to end up back with BYU. I don't know if that's going to go down. I watched Keba Keita play for the Indiana Pacers in the Summer League. The kid from Michigan State, the local kid from American Fork, who played 4 years for Tom Izzo at Michigan State, played for the Jazz Summer League team, and now he's going to play for Kevin Young and BYU. I don't want to make this a Utah versus BYU thing, but this is a big deal because Alex himself kind of alluded to the fact that this young man potentially could be the piece that he's been looking for to add to his roster at this point to maybe take the next step and potentially at least, look, I'm not expecting Utah basketball to be in the top tier of the Big 12 this year. The Big 12, year in and year out, if it's not the best basketball conference in America, it's one of the top 2 or 3. The SEC has been really good as of late. The ACC with Duke and Carolina is always good. But the depth of the Big 12, Houston, Arizona, I could keep going, Iowa State, BYU. But last year, well, it simply was not good enough, okay? And ultimately, as I talked about, I think Alex is the best, okay? He's the best guy. He's the best person. I know that he knows basketball. I know that he knows how to develop players. And I think if given the resources and given the patience, Alex Jensen is going to get this thing figured out. I believe that to be true. And I said last year I was going to cover Utah basketball with the idea of this is going to take a minute. Okay, Alex was hired late in the cycle. He wanted to finish the season with the Mavericks because he had signed a contract, and he's a man of his word. So by the time he started adding pieces to this Utah basketball team, the majority of the talent was already committed to other places. So I wasn't expecting much last year. But if we're going to be fair in our coverage, we have to say that it has to be better this year. It just does. I'm not saying go win the conference. I'm saying don't be 2-16. Don't be 10-22 overall. Don't be last, okay? Get up there in the area with Cincinnati, UCF, Colorado, maybe TCU. TCU is a good program. But I'm not even saying Arizona, Houston, Kansas, Iowa State, Texas Tech, BYU, those teams that most people believe are going to be the top 5 or 6 teams in the conference. I am saying closer to a 500 record in conference, be a top 30, 40 Ken Pom team, and then be in the mix down the stretch for at least the NIT. If not potentially scratching the bubble of the NCAA tournament. But the news that came down today changes the scope of this roster. It's not just what you read. It's not just what you see on paper. I mean, a lot of people thought that Yakov was going to be drafted in the NBA draft. He was not, and therefore pivoted to come play for Alex. And I just cannot say enough, and I've talked about it for years. I'm honestly tired of discussing the hypocrisy, the moving the goalposts, the inconsistent nature of the way the NCAA goes about this. When we have players that are 3 or 4 years older than Nam Yakov, that have played professionally, that are allowed to come back and play for other programs, and your walking line is he was developing in a pro system in Europe, that's your reasoning for making this kid ineligible? And I could go over rosters and find 50 players that are playing in the NCAA right now that developed in pro systems in Europe. I'm not kidding. This makes zero sense, and it's unfair to Alex. It's unfair to Utah basketball. And I hope Mark Harlan, Taylor Randall, whoever is up there, and if you're listening, and we know that you are, Paul, send the message. Paul, look at me. Get on YouTube, Paul. Send the message to the administration. File an injunction. Do something to give this kid some space to come play for Alex for a little bit. And if it's something that eventually you're not able to figure it out, I just feel like the rule book, the playbook right now for college football and college basketball teams, Brendan Sorsby was deemed eligible to play college football. My man bet over $90,000. Now, ultimately, he's not able to play, which felt like a just decision. But Texas Tech found some Texas Tech fan judge in their vicinity to basically sign off on an injunction to let that dude play college football. Go find a judge, file an injunction on Yakov's behalf, and get Alex's point guard back. This can't stand. It is completely unjust. We'll get back to some of this stuff, but let's catch a break so we can bring in Zach Moss coming up on the other side. Off and running, Tuesday show. Keep it here, ESPN 700. Some sad news today from the world of country music, which is close to our producer's hearts. Dolly Parton passed away at the age of 80 today. So very sad news in Nashville, Tennessee. You're like a legitimate fan. I know 3 or 4 songs because she had some big hits, but you're like a legitimate Dolly Parton fan, are you?
Dolly was one of the best. Like your favorite country music star, their favorite country music star is Dolly Parton.
Oh, okay.
She's just really, really cool. Obviously a great songwriter, great performer, and it turned into just like a community staple too, if you will, right? Like there's a lot of drama and silliness in Nashville with that scene. She kind of bridges the gap between all of it.
Released her first album in 1967. 50 studio albums. Wow, spanning 60 years. So some sad news. Dolly Parton passes away today at the age of 80 years old. All right, our first guest on the program is a new member of our ESPN 700 broadcast team, one of the best to ever do it. So if you go to a Utah football game this year, you will see Zach Moss roaming the sidelines as our new sideline reporter. Congratulations, dude. How you doing? Hello, Zach. Maybe
Can
Zach.
you hear me?
Oh, no, got you now. Congrats, Zach. How you doing, bud?
Oh, good. Appreciate it. How you guys doing?
We're good, man. Thanks for the time today. So let's just talk about this decision of yours. You're a friend of the show, and obviously we follow your career. For me, I was hoping you had a little football left in you, but the retirement time comes for all of us at some point. So when did you decide that you wanted to lean into this opportunity?
I think broadcasting and getting into that whole entire world was always something that I've planned on doing. Obviously going back to my time up at the U, obviously getting my degree in communications, so that's always been something I've always wanted to do. Obviously, you don't know when it's going to happen, stuff of that nature. I haven't played football since 2024. So now it's coming 2 years later. So like I said, you never know when it's going to happen, when the opportunities present themselves. So I'm just excited to work alongside some really good dudes that I've known for, since my time up at the school and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting, but more so than anything, just more exciting.
So you're a pretty measured, pragmatic guy. What kind of broadcaster are you going to be? Are we going to get some hot takes, Zach Moss, or what are we in store for?
I'm not sure, honestly. I'm still trying to figure that out. We did like a cool little mock broadcast at the one of the spring scrimmages the other week, and it was more so I was kind of more so just working the field, kind of seeing what I like. I've always been an observer of the game and learner, no matter what. So, trying to figure out, where do I want to stand? Where do I want to be at over here and just doing this question and that question. I think you'll get a lot of stuff. I'll be as raw as I possibly can be. Try to, lean into, being very insightful, definitely leaning more on the X's and O's, getting underneath the helmet as much as I possibly can, and with this offense and stuff like that. So I think that's where I want to be, but you never know where you're going to be.
Yeah, well said. And look, like everything else, this takes practice. So don't be too hard on yourself early on. You'll get better as you go. You know the deal. It's just like learning a position in football or learning how to shoot a jump shot or learning how to hit your 3-wood if you're playing golf. It just takes practice and reps, man. That's all.
Yep. I'm a rookie all over again. So that's the mindset I'm taking into it. So it's exciting.
All good. All right, so let's just talk about, since we're 9 days out, with a team like Idaho, all due respect to Idaho, Utah they're favored by 1 million. The line is like 34.5. So when the game ends, Zach, what are some of the boxes you just hope will be checked come opening night, 9 days away from today?
I think the number one thing, when you talk about an offense, that's where I want to go right now. You talk about an offense, it's the offensive line. I think that is going to set the table for all the other skill positions, as it does every single team, every single year, right? You kind of go as your offensive line goes. So, this being their first opponent, right? Like you said, no disrespect to the opponent, but it's never about the opponent. It's always about the players, right? What can you do better? Your technique, your fundamentals, and things of that nature. So, keeping Dampier, Fick, keeping those guys clean, right? Getting out of that game as early as you possibly can, and setting the tone for the season, right? Because everyone is going to eye for this offensive line, this group here, figure out how they can run, stunts, right? TE stunts, get the defensive line twisting, bringing pressure, seeing how good the communication is on the pressure, right? That's where you're going to see this offensive line being tested, and I'm sure they're going to see some of that game one. How much? No idea, but you're going to see some of it week one for sure. And the offensive line has to be flawless, especially versus the type of caliber team that they're going to be going against.
So is it a scenario where you'd kind of like to see the game more or less in hand by halftime so you can get the starters off the field? Because we've got to keep – and, Devin joined us during Big 12 Media Days, and really for the first time, at least that I had heard, was very candid and honest and open about his injury situation a year ago. We got to keep that kid healthy. I know we've got contingencies if he goes down, but is against Idaho is a good script. Like, let's get this thing in hand at halftime so we can get the 2s, 3s, and 4s, some reps in the second half.
Yeah, I think that's, one as an ex-player, a fan, that's what you want to see. You want to see your team be as dominant, right? We've heard a lot of good things about this group, this team so far during camp, right? And this is going to be their first opportunity to go ahead and put it all out there, right? You're going to see, obviously, new coordinator, new offensive line coach, right? The communication is going to be different. How flawless can the offense be moving the ball up and down the field when they get into a second and long situation, right? All the little things, situational football that's going to pop up. You want to see how flawless they can be in it and at the same time be very dominant just because of the caliber of the team that they're playing, right? It's not going to be easy, right? It doesn't matter who they're playing. It's never going to be easy, but, the message is always about us. So if they do and they go out there and execute the way they've been coached and the way they should want to internally, that's the goal is to, get all the guys out of there that you're going to lean on when this thing gets real tight somewhere in the middle of the season here. Get those guys out and see what your depth chart looks like, how much depth you got behind those guys.
So you, of course, made your living as a running back and one of the best to ever do it at the University of Utah. This offense was the number one rushing attack in the Big 12 a year ago, and they were the second best rushing attack in the entire country, Zach. What's an expectation look like for you this year when it comes to the ground game?
Yeah, I don't want to say last year was a super outlier because that was really, really, really special. You had a lot of really good guys up front. Obviously, a lot of those guys have left, gone on to go play in the NFL, be drafted in the first round. So, when you lose that type of talent that you've had up front, and obviously the play calling, knowing how to scheme up these plays in the run game is very hard to do. So, like I said, all of that stuff being gone this year, it's going to be different. I think we are going to lean into the pass game a little bit more this year because, the two teams that you got to beat that are clear-cut, the two teams that beat us last year being BYU and Tech, right, their pass game was a lot better than ours, and, we couldn't run the ball as dominant versus those two teams as we could everyone else. So I think the pass game is going to eat up some of that run game that we saw last year, which is a good thing, right? I think, Dampier should be able to go and have a lot more yardage than he did last year. This receiver room has a lot more depth that we've heard, this entire offseason and stuff like that. So when I think about you adding the pass game and McGivens scheming it up a little bit more for these receivers and stuff like that, I think it's going to eat up into the run game a little bit. But if you could still be dominant and keep that yards per carry pretty high and be explosive, which we got two really explosive running backs and we got two explosive quarterbacks. As long as they're explosive, they don't need to run the ball 30, 40 times a game. They just need to be exposed to them and keep that YPC up pretty high.
I want to get your thoughts on Wayshawn, who was just a few carries away from cracking that 1,000-yard barrier last year. And, of course, we know Devin's going to carry the ball. We know Bird's going to get some carries, and you had referenced the two running backs, and Daniel Bray is, of course, a weapon as well. Do you think we'll see Wayshawn featured a little bit more in the ground attack, more of a bell cow, or do you kind of like the way they split things up a year ago?
I think last year made sense. Going into that year, no one really knew exactly what everybody was going to be, including Dampier. We obviously knew we had a sample size of what he was able to do from his time at New Mexico. But obviously different conference and stuff like that, and seeing how that was going to integrate into this conference. And obviously he did really well being banged up and stuff of that nature as well, which is part of the being in a new conference, being a little tougher of a conference. So those hits start adding up. To my point about him getting banged up and those hits adding up, we ran him a lot early on because we knew he was a defined runner. Parker kind of came along with the carries that he was given. Wasn't given a ton, but he definitely made those carries count. So I think he's earned the right to be able to come into the season and request a little bit more carries. When you're talking about a running back getting 10, 11 carries, that's really hard to be dominant, right? I think he's worked his tail off from everything I've seen and heard. I think he's worked really hard to be that bell cow. And I think his mindset has been really good. The mentality, he's talked a lot in the media to some degree about wanting to be dominant and things of that nature. So I think he's definitely going to have a year that's going to be special, and he got the talent around him. And if we can get that passing game to be just above average, just to at least start, right? We don't know how special they'll be, but if we can get that passing game to be above average, he'll be even better. It'll just open up a lot of more things for him.
You had referenced the offensive line a couple of times, so I'll kind of follow up. And, we've heard from Jordan Gross during media availability and Morgan Scalley, and they have declined to name their starting unit, at least to us. Tell me what your intel is. Do you think they've landed on the 5, and what are you hearing about the way they're looking during fall camp?
Usually when you have 5 new guys, you don't know officially what 5 you're really going to get into legitimately. I think it's 9 days out, right? So obviously they have a clear idea of who the 5 will be. They're probably going to have 7 in a perfect world, maybe 8 guys that they can rotate that can play a lot of different positions. But their key spots, obviously your left tackle, and as much as we run the ball, that left guard, that center, that right guard, that's going to be where the money is made. So I think they at least have a good idea, and then just kind of see how these guys play together, right? Obviously, all 5 playing together for the first time, all being starters for the first time together. That's why there's going to be even more focus and a lot of eyeballs on that group come week 1.
The walking line about Kevin McGivern is that conceptually he's pretty similar to Jason Beck. And I'm pretty curious as opposed to confident. I honestly don't know what to expect. But schematically, if you could break it down, get into the X's and O's, will it look similar? Will it look different? And at what point of the season do you think we'll kind of have a good idea of what this is going to be?
I think both of those guys are similar. I think, what makes a play caller really good, which made Beck really good, is understanding when to call certain plays, right, and setting up plays and things of that nature, right? That's what makes a coordinator a really good OC. It's not really the plays, it's when to call the play, when to dial up the play and things of that nature. So that's really what it's going to be on McGivern, is to try to duplicate that part, right? I think, obviously, a lot of the skill players are very similar to what Beck had last year. So you're going to see a lot of tight condenses. You're going to see we got some athletic tight ends, not your traditional big body run blocking tight ends. You got some athletic guys at the tight end spot. So we're going to see him utilize those guys, I think, in 12 personnels and 13 personnels, and being able to throw the ball out of those personnels, right? A lot of times, traditionally, you get into 12, 13 personnel, 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends on the field. it's almost always run, right? So I think we're going to be able to see some passing out of that, which is only going to make them even more dynamic if they can stray away from being in only a 10 or 11 personnel predominantly the time. They get into some big, heavy formations and run the ball and be dominant on first, second down and be able to throw the ball out of those formations as well. So I think with him, with McGivens, we're going to see a lot of similar stuff. It's going to be some new wrinkles and things like that. He's definitely going to lean into these skill guys a lot. And like I said, he has a lot of depth to play with. I don't feel like Beck had a ton of depth to play with, especially at the receiver spot. But I think McGivens is going to have that, and so that's going to be interesting to see. And so I'm kind of like you. Not sure what we're going to get, but if I had to guess, it would be similar but very, very different.
Got a lot of 1,000-yard rushers in Utah football history. I'm on the phone with one of them right now. But the list of 1,000-yard receivers is not near as long. And the last 1,000-yard receiver we had was Drez, which was over a decade ago. You hear a lot about Brandon Pagan. You hear a lot about more of an air raid, aerial type of attack. Who knows what it's going to look like? But do you think this could be the year where we finally see a wide receiver go over 1,000 yards?
It's an opportunity. I think it is definitely an opportunity. I think Pagan would obviously be the number one guy. I think he's kind of come into week one as the number one target, which he's obviously earned as well. And, having the background with McGivens, and he's a big guy, so he can kind of almost be like a security blanket for Dampier. I think he has the opportunity. I wouldn't be able to say 100% yes, because like I've said, I think depth at receiver with all of these different guys, they are going to play a big role, right? I think 1 week you're going to have Pagan, and then the next week you might have Merriweather. The next week you might have, I think his name's Shavers. So it's a lot of guys that can do a lot of different things. And like I said, also the tight ends, they are athletic. They're not, hand in the ground and only coming in the block and maybe get a sneaker play in the red zone. I think they're going to be a part of the attack in the open field and be real liable threats as long as they can capitalize on our opportunities. So, the opportunity is going to be there. And if a wide group of guys can capitalize on the opportunities, then no, I don't think we'll see 1,000-yard receiver. I think we'll see something that we're going to be very happy with. Pagan might be at 850, 900. The next guy might be at 600. The next guy might be at 5. It may be scattered around like that, which will only be very good overall for the team, right? And that'll make us just a lot more hard to stop. But, like I said, there is an opportunity. We will just see, because all these guys are going to be first-time contributors, at least outside for the receiver spot.
The preseason coverage of the Utes has been interesting, Zach, to follow. There are some people. Look, you're 21 in the AP, 21 in the coaches poll, which indicates Morgan has some built-in respect and equity throughout the industry. But then you read a Stuart Mandel, who has Utah 9th in the conference. Nicole Auerbach, friend of the show, does not have Utah in her top 5. It just depends on who you read, who you listen to, who you watch. But there really hasn't been like a consistent thread as far as overall expectations. If we pan back and ask you, year one under Morgan, big picture, what are the Zach Moss expectations for Utah football this year?
I think first, all those rankings, to some degree, are fair. Like I said, you're talking about a new offensive coordinator, right? On any level, having a new play caller is difficult. It takes a few games to kind of figure out the rhythm and things of that nature. New offensive line coach, new receivers coach, right? All these little different pieces that add to the puzzle. From that standpoint, I kind of understand why, everyone isn't just salivating over us. I think taking a step back, and obviously to your question, year one with Scally, I think this team from last year showed a lot, right? I think they showed a lot where it really wasn't highly respected going into that year, right? With a coach who had been there for 20 plus years. These guys don't really care about the outside noise. They showed that last year. So, the main thing is being dominant. I think Coach Scally has always been that type of a guy, right? He's always, from my time there, he's always been loud and rowdy and pushing the envelope and wanting guys to be at their best and holding them accountable and things of that nature. So, even though he's not going to have his fingerprint on the defense like he's had the last few years, right? In our defense, you never had to worry about, right? For years with Coach Scally calling it. I think him taking that and now putting his finger on an entire team, right? Putting who he is and having the fingerprint on each and one of these guys on the staff, coaches on the staff, and things like that. It's going to be a really good year. I think the main thing is last year showed what were the two teams that we weren't close enough to, right? Tech and BYU. This year, obviously, we played BYU. I don't believe we played Tech this year. So, the number one thing is to get to the Big 12 championship game, right? You finished, I believe, third overall last year. So you shouldn't have any lower expectations. There is no lower expectations inside of those walls, right? The expectation is definitely to be number one. And, we don't plan on losing to BYU at home, that's for sure, this season. So, we take care of business the way we need to take care of business. Coach Scally and this team is going to be, somewhere we're going to hope they can get into the playoffs and make some noise.
You'd referenced the BYU game, and look, the bottom line is it's 3 straight for those guys now down there, and it was 9 straight for Utah up here for a while, and this stuff is cyclical. College football is a sport where things can turn, and I'll just ask you, bottom line, is it going to be 4 straight coming up this year, or are we going to be able to get it done up here in Salt Lake?
Oh, we're going to be able to get it done. We're going to be able to get it done for sure. You ain't got to worry about that part.
All right. I like hearing that. Hey, before I set you loose, I wanted to ask, when I saw you on the rundown today, I'll just speak for myself. And the position of running back is it's a difficult deal. So to have 5 years in the NFL is a really cool accomplishment. I thought you'd play in that league for a decade or more and be a starter for a team forever. That was just me, Zach. Now that your football playing career is behind you, how would you articulate kind of your football playing journey and, the whether or not it was fulfilling for you, or do you feel like there's some meat left on that bone when you walked away?
I'll try to give you a quick articulation there. I played running back only in my senior year in high school. That was my first year playing. Played linebacker, offensive line all through Little League. Little League, I played offensive line, little linebacker. Got to high school, my first 3 years played linebacker, and then I made the switch full time to running back, and just fell in love with it. Got to college, 2016 as a freshman, trying to figure it out, and then sophomore year, I kind of put some things together. So I always said I was a late bloomer in at that position. So from that standpoint, I think I did pretty decently. To your point, I did want to play a lot longer. Injuries are a part of the game. Things happen. Obviously, I had a career-ending neck injury, which is what took me out. Which, if that doesn't happen, or maybe I feel differently about some things, and that's from that scenario, maybe I'm still playing to this day, which I think I could, and I think I would. But, God's timing is the best timing, so there's absolutely no regret about anything. If you would have asked me in 2012 when I walked into high school not knowing anything about potentially being able to earn a college scholarship, from how everything is played out, being able to play in that league in the NFL, from something I played on Madden for years with my brothers and cousins and stuff like that, and coming to Utah, which has now become my home, meeting my wife, having kids here and things of that nature. If you ask me then from what it would have been, this has been a pretty good story.
Yeah, I would say it's hard to look at this as anything other than an absolute win, Zach. A scholarship, the all-time leading rusher at Utah in 5 years in the NFL, and you've built a great life, and now we'll see what's next as you moved into the evil side of things, the broadcasting media space, Zach. So, again, congratulations. Welcome to the team, and thanks for your time today, okay?
Yes, sir, my man. I appreciate it.
All right, Zach Moss, the newest member of the Utah broadcast team. Of course, Bill Riley, his 18th season as the voice of the Utes. Stevenson Sylvester moves from the sideline to the booth. And then Zach Moss will fill the shoes left behind by Sly. So congratulations to Zach. I want to let you know that it is time to start thinking about football, and we're only a few weeks away from the best time of the year. Now's the time to prep your field. Make sure you're using IFA Step 3 for the weeks ahead when the weather is still hot. But as the dog days of summer give way to fall, it's time to start thinking about Step 4, our fall and winter lawn fertilizer. Either way, you can find out more by visiting ifa.coop online. All right, 1 hour down, 3 hours to go. Keep it right here on ESPN 700. May I air a beef I have about life, about this human experience, Porter? Do you mind if I take the space to air a grievance about existence and life?
A grievance on a Tuesday?
Yeah, I mean, look, tune in to Sean's show on Friday for the official airing of said grievances. I don't like how we wait until people die to learn more about them, to like funerals, side hustle business idea, funerals for the living, where people can show up and say nice things about you while you're still alive to hear them. Because people die and then everyone's like, oh, wait, I actually did love that person, so I'm going to go to the funeral and say nice things. Say the nice things when they're alive.
I don't hate it because you're not wrong. Like we love to honor people more than we did at one point after they pass away. Mm-hmm. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but maybe add some of that on top of, when their heart's beating. I agree.
Yeah, so Dolly Parton gave $500 to every student in her hometown who finished high school for like the history of her entire life. She built 7 hospitals and bald eagle preserves. She built a library that's gifted 300 million books to children. And she's truly like a remarkable life. Maybe it's on me for not knowing more about her, but Dolly Parton has passed away today at the age of 80 years old. So some sad news. All right, we have a special guest live in studio. I'm excited for this. If you're tuned in on YouTube, you might be thinking you were looking at me when I was 25 years old, but this is my son. In the alternate Real Salt Lake Black Diamond kit today, Connor Checketts, my son, is live in studio. What's up, pal? How are you?
Great. And may I come in with a hot take? This is Real's best kit they've ever made.
Of all time?
I think so, of all time.
Okay. Yeah, they just came out with it.
Recency bias maybe, but it's so good.
You know what I like about it? It's a throwback to the original, right?
Yes.
That's the original Real crest that we came up with back in 2004. We've got the shield up top, and then the sponsors on the back.
So money.
Right?
It's awesome. It reminds me of like an international kit.
Yeah.
So, the sponsor's more low-key, so
I like it. Good. Well, Bud, thanks for coming in studio. It's always fun when we can do this. And I always wondered if you would ever... You're not following in my footsteps. You are paving your own path.
No, I'd say following in the footsteps for sure.
Okay, well,
carrying on.
Well, I'm excited to see what you do with this space. So let's talk about this new project. A company called Good News Brand contacted you, and you have your own podcast now, and it's called Like a Rock. So let's talk about the origin story. It's pretty wild because it's a kind of a story that's a testament to. If you're brave and put some things out there, sometimes the right person sees it and decides to give you an opportunity. So tell us the background here.
Yeah, so at the beginning of the year, I started posting some stuff on just my personal Instagram account. And just randomly one day, I got a couple DMs from Good News Brand and a couple of the people that work there asking if I could take on, if I'd be interested in taking over an existing podcast. Mm-hmm. It's not, a podcast is nothing I would start on my own. This is kind of the only path that I would be, kind of brave enough to take on. And the most experience that I have podcasting is literally this exact format where I come on your show maybe a handful of times in my life for 5 minutes and talk for a sec. That's like literally the most experience I have. So I don't know what prompted them to kind of reach out to me outside of the fact that, I literally put up like a dozen personal videos on my personal Instagram account.
Yeah.
So.
Who did you hear from first from that company?
Yeah, so her name's Grace Freeman.
Okay. She's
Emily Bo Freeman's daughter, and she's, a podcaster, influencer of her own right. Mm-hmm. Never met her before. I didn't know who she was. And, I also got a DM from one of your old Sigma Chi buddies, McKinley.
Yep.
Hopefully he's listening. And so that's her uncle. So there's that little connection there. So, I'm sure that he mentioned that my father has the genes that, he gets paid for his voice too. So.
Well, McKinley, a big Utah football fan. Yep. He is Garrett Pohl's uncle, and McKinley has been a dear friend for nearly 30 years now, I guess, as I'm aging myself. So, and he's been good.
And I've never seen him without a University of Utah hat.
Huge Utah fan.
Ever.
Yeah, massive Utah fan. It isn't a sports podcast. So tell us what you're hoping to do with this space.
Yeah. So it is religious in theory, but I also want it to be a place for just people to really explore the core of what makes them who they are, and like the core of their values and beliefs. And I do want it to be open to kind of anyone. I truly believe that everyone everywhere has a story to teach, or a story to tell, and a lesson to teach that you can learn from anybody, regardless of who they are, whatever their background is. Like, everyone is of value and has something to teach you.
Yeah.
And so it's called Like a Rock because it references a scripture. In our family, we say Checketts like a rock. That comes from a scripture referencing building your rock. That's symbolism of a foundation. And so, what that foundation is. And, I want to be able to bring people on to explore how they've built on that foundation, what their foundation is, and how they've built beautifully on it.
Yeah.
So really exploring like the core of what people are, and for me, that's been Christ in a lot of ways. It's been family in a lot of ways, right? So like that's mine, and also, exploring other people's too.
So if people go to any of the podcast platforms out there and just search Like a Rock, that's how they can find it?
Yeah, so it's Revival: Like a Rock. So if you just search up Like a Rock, it should come up.
And it's also on all of your socials.
Yeah.
So
On Instagram, we're on YouTube as well. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whole deal.
Is your social, is it just your name? I should know this. Is your Instagram handle just your name?
Just my name with a 3 at the end. Or you can just look up Like a Rock. We have our dedicated Instagram for that too. So.
Okay. So for those listeners out there that feel like they want more Checketts in their life, we would appreciate it.
If there's room. If there's room for more.
or if you want actually the Checketts, it's more of a breath of fresh air. You can support my son's endeavor, which I would very much appreciate. So go look at Like a Rock on your podcast platforms. You can find Connor at Connor Checketts 3 on Instagram, and the links are all there. And I try to share as much as I can. I'm an old man that's trying to figure out social media. I'm not very good at it. But.
Well, this is a great opportunity for me. Ultimately, one of the biggest reasons I was really interested in this is to, again, follow after you. This is a fun way to connect with you. It's been fun to be able to, I was so scared at first. I still am in a lot of ways, but to be able to get advice from you, I mean, what a resource, so it's been incredible to be able to kind of use this opportunity to connect with you more. So it's been fun.
You know that I'm here for you always, and you know that we've always talked about since you were a kid, just do the thing and do it scared, right?
Yep, do it scared.
Just do it scared. So
we are doing it scared.
How many episodes have you released so far?
So we're only 3 weeks into this.
Yeah.
A fourth release is tomorrow, so it's every week on Wednesday. We're about a month into this.
And you've had, that's great. So, what did you have some episodes coming up? Do you have some stuff in the can, or are you trying to figure out what's next?
No, I have a few with guests. I kind of just try to get them when I can.
Yeah.
And so every other week there will be a guest. So 2 weeks out of the month, I'll do it with a guest, and then the other 2 weeks it's just me. So
okay.
I know you were able to kind of use Gordon as a crutch for a while with your show, but now you're doing your own. So it's also been good to, you kind of leading by example, doing your own show, because that was also pretty scary at first. I was taking over. The existing podcast did have 2 guests, both of which were like very qualified, like a best-selling author and like a religious professor at a university, right? So like when I came on, I was like, I have 0 of those qualifications and I'm by myself, right? So like, but it's been fun to also do it kind of by myself too. So yeah, I mean, in terms of episodes kind of in the bank, I have a few that are done and then some others that are kind of just in the moment, try to get a good mix of that too. So
how's the feedback been from the company and people that have tuned in so far?
It's been really good. I'm like nervous for when it, turns a little negative, but once the feedback turns a little negative, I know that my reach has expanded a good amount. But so far, just really, really positive things. I'm my worst critic, and so it's been nice to have some positive feedback so far.
What do we say about other people's opinions?
This is actually maybe the greatest lesson that I have yet to learn completely, but that I bring up often, that other people's opinions of you are none of your business.
Literally none of your business.
Literally none of your business. And once you learn that principle, at least a little bit, like it is like a weight being lifted off of you.
Yeah.
So, and there's no better example who've had to live that, than you.
Yeah.
To see that.
Yeah. Other people's opinions are none of your business.
None of your business.
And the internet is where cowards go to feel brave.
Yes. Everyone feels brave behind a keyboard.
The internet is where cowards go to feel brave. Yeah. So if the feedback turns negative, what do? We don't even look at it. We move on. It doesn't matter. A lot of cowards out there, a lot of jealous people, a lot of small people that don't like themselves, so they go find ways to take it out on others. What's been the biggest challenge so far? Because the interesting, you had said something, maybe it was even this morning, where when you have to book guests, and you can ask Porter about this because he has to book 3 or 4 every day. And now I'm doing a podcast with our friends at KUTV, and you got to find a guest every week. You know, whether or not you like it, you got to go figure it out. So what's been the biggest challenge for you so far?
I mean, luckily for me, I'm only doing 4 a month, right? It's not a daily show, and it's only 2 guests a month. So I'm grateful enough to be around a lot of people that are incredible and amazing and successful in their own right. That like guests, at least so far, that part's pretty easy. Yeah. And I can like kind of, it's the one time I can kind of lean on them to bring something new to the table. The most challenging thing for me is that I'm a photographer and a videographer by trade. And so I'm used to setting everything up. But I'm, again, very not used to being in front of the camera. So it is a dual cast. It's a video podcast and an audio podcast at the same time. So, you know, I kind of am in my routine of like setting everything up and pressing record. Like I'm really used to that. But then I'm like, that's a whole job on its own. And so I think the concept of it kind of being a one-man production where I'm producing, I'm writing, I'm directing, I'm hosting, I'm editing. The one part that I get some help with is the distribution and the posting of it, right?
Yeah.
But I'm doing all of the pre-production and production and post-production of this show, and I'm very used to the pre and the post-production.
Yeah.
But actually getting in front, you know, it all feels like a job, and then I'm like, oh wait, I actually have to go and perform now.
Yeah.
Once everything's set up. So I think just the entirety of it is really rewarding, but actually just feeling like I am myself in front of the camera, that's been a challenge. I've been told already that like, and it's a fair note, I've noticed it myself, but that I have a little bit of like the spirit voice. If you're ever a missionary, you know what that means. Yeah. That like, you know, people have a certain thing that they turn on, you know, and I don't typically have that, but I think because I've kind of been nervous through this, that's kind of bled through a little bit. So kind of just trying to find my own voice and like my own personality, being myself on camera. Yeah. That's definitely been a big struggle so far. So
well, and also you oftentimes will be talking about church topics,
sure. Yeah.
And so it's probably natural to break into that, you know, whether you realize it or not.
I think it's more nerves though than anything.
So yeah, and you'll get over that. Yeah. It's like everything else; it takes reps, and you know,
for sure.
It's nice that you can press stop and take a break.
No, that's massive. I edit the crap out of all my episodes. It is much different than it being a live daily show. Again, I get the crutch of being able to go in afterwards and be like, don't love how I said that. Let's take it out.
Yeah, no, it's a really unique format that way, because when that light goes on, we're in here for 25 minutes.
Yep.
And there's no way you can stop. So tell our listeners some of the guests you've had on the show so far and what that's been like for you.
Yeah, so my first guest was David Butler, who is kind of an influencer and author in the LDS space, and he was one of the hosts of the podcast before I took over, and so it was kind of just a natural first guest to have. And then my second guest, listeners would probably be fairly familiar with. And we'll add another generation to this project. My grandpa, Dave Checketts, was my second guest. That was a lot of fun to kind of be able to connect a lot of my love and kind of bring sports into the show. I want to be able to do that as much as I can, because ultimately that is really the only experience I have, and a lot of the only podcasts that I listen to consistently are sports talk show podcasts, and your show, right? And so that's very natural for me to talk about sports in that format. And so it was really cool to be able to kind of go and explore more of his career and also how that connected. It was a really good example, I think, of, you know, someone who's built their foundation on very strong values and core beliefs and principles, and an example of someone who maintained that through success and like used that as a catalyst to build a really awesome and beautiful career, and use that influence to help people and use that influence for good. And I'm sure you could attest to that too, right? So, you know, he's a really good example of the people that I am kind of trying to hope to bring on, right, and share their story as someone who has maintained that strong belief system, regardless of what it is, throughout their career and throughout their life, regardless of the success or the roadblocks that have faced them, right? So those are the two that have come so far, and there's plenty more down the line. I just filmed an episode with my brother who he's a real successful and really incredible mountain biker, and he's only 15, but a few years ago he got diagnosed with Tourette's, and that was really difficult for him. We had to pull him out of school and out of sports, and we didn't know what to do, and so we just started an Instagram account for him, had him start posting mountain bike videos, and so he could practice talking, because he really struggled to speak after he got diagnosed with Tourette's, and he blew up almost immediately, and he has a couple 100,000 followers on Instagram now, and so that's another example of someone who's stuck it through hard times, especially at a young and formidable age, and maintained his values and maintained his belief in God and in himself, and is now starting to see some fruits from it. And so I'm hoping to bring a lot of similar people like that on.
It's amazing how far he's come.
Oh, it's nuts.
Because we had your 25th birthday party last week, and your mama was there, and we were all up at a park in West Farmington. I hadn't seen Carter in a minute.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even know. I mean, I was only around him for like an hour, but it's pretty incredible how far that kid has come.
A couple years ago, he literally couldn't say his own name. He said, my name is Carter. Like, he just couldn't get through a single sentence without ticking. His tics would make his neck flick back and to the side, and he just couldn't even mutter a complete sentence.
Yeah.
And now you can hardly even tell. He'll have flare-ups now and then, but it's really, really incredible how far he's come.
He's got a pretty good mom, doesn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
I can attest.
Yeah. So
pretty good.
That's a miracle, and that's the good stuff, and that's the company Good News brand. I think it's perfect for your platform.
Yeah, I agree.
So it's called Like a Rock. Yep. It's my son's podcast. He's in studio, so go search it out. I'll just go ahead and say it. I think there are probably, I don't know how many listeners that are like, wait, Spence's son is LDS?
Sure.
They're probably probably confused.
Totally.
Because I'm not, right? Yeah. It's not for me. But I think that's one of the things that hopefully you're able to convey in this platform, that we have this really interesting dichotomy in the state. I was actually talking to a friend who was out here on a ski trip with his family. They were here for like 10 days. Unfortunately, they picked the wrong year because we had no snow. Yeah. And he was saying over the course of their stay, they met a lot of people. He said, I feel like there are two types of people that exist in Utah. People that are LDS, and then people that have left the church that hate the church. And that's, I don't think that's anything that's ever come between us or come between, me and the entire family. Just because it's not for everybody doesn't mean you have to get mad at it, because it's not part of your life anymore. Yeah. And people have asked me, like, what do you say to your son about it? I say, is it adding to your happiness? And if he says yes, like, I'm his parent, that's a win. Like, what am I supposed to say? Like, don't do the thing that is completely fulfilling the thing that you wanted to fulfill. I don't think we do a great job, oftentimes here in the state, of bridging that gap of people that are still in, that look at people that left as lesser than, and then people that have left that look at people that are still in as pious and judgmental. I don't think it has to be those things. It's not binary. It can be complex and beautiful and whatever works for you.
Yeah, and that's not how the human experience works, right? Like, I think seeing the world as black and white, or separating groups of people into like black and white, like, it's just, that's not how the human experience operates, and this is the only time that I've really shared this publicly, but my plan with this, eventually, once I build an audience and people kind of know me and know what I'm about, right, and know how my brain works and operates, right, like, one of the series, you could call it, of episodes that I want to explore is I'm wanting to call it Bridging the Gap, bringing, that's where I'd want you to come in. And share your experience and how our relationship works, and showing, again, kind of bridging that gap between people who have left and it's not a part of their life anymore, but that showing that animosity does not have to be a part of that experience, and your relationships with people can actually grow beautifully, even because of those experiences. And I think that's how our relationship is. And, a lot of my family have kind of followed that same pattern, and legitimately not one single time, not one person, not one experience it's never dampened my relationship with any of my family members.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, it's actually grown my faith in a lot of ways, in a lot of complex and nuanced ways, but in a lot of really beautiful ways, that to the point where it's another reason why I felt prompted to take this opportunity, because for one, the world doesn't need another podcast in general. Like there's a lot of them, but for two, like the LDS space or whatever you want to call it didn't need. There's a lot of creators out there already who are sharing, very awesome and great, content about, one specific facet. But I haven't seen a lot of creators creating resources for people in, say, our situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's an opportunity to explore the humanity of this process rather than, to your point, alienating either side.
Yeah.
I don't view it as sides.
Mm-hmm.
I don't. And I get why people do, because it's easy and it ignores some of the complexity, but I don't view it as sides. I just view it as we're people, and again, everyone has something to teach and to tell. And it's been my experience in a lot of ways. I'm still in it, and I'm still religious. I still believe in God in a lot of ways because of my family and friends and people in my life that I love and care about very deeply, who that specifically isn't a part of their life anymore.
Yeah.
But it's helped me develop this kind of complex, nuanced, and very human, mixed with divine perspective that has been, again, a big catalyst to my faith and what I want to explore with this show.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a minute since I've dabbled, but my understanding of Christianity is something along the lines of love thy neighbor. I don't know.
I mean, that's like one of the big ones.
I might be misquoting the big guy.
There's two big ones, and that's 50% of it. So.
Yeah. All right. Before I set you loose, it is a sports talk radio show.
So maybe we should bring it back.
But no, this has been great. I mean, thank you for coming in. Here's the question I'll ask.
Yeah.
Of all of the teams, and I'm so sorry.
I know
the Jets. I blew
it's so
it.
bad.
But
you so blew it with the Jets.
I'm on the record saying you are allowed to choose a different NFL team.
You told me that when I was 22 years old. I'm this deep into it.
You still can.
Geno Smith is my quarterback.
Choose the Rams.
I have to do it.
Choose the Rams.
Oh,
okay. Like Sean McVay. They got Puka.
Yeah.
They've got an awesome
BYU
defense.
guy and your celebrity lookalike. Like, it would be easy to jump ship, but I can't. It's not who I am. I can't do it.
Okay, so you just experienced something that I never experienced at your age. You watched one of the NBA teams you cheer for win a championship.
Nuts.
And you were in New York.
Yes.
You went to a game.
Yes.
You went to watch parties at bars, and you were FaceTiming me, and it was fun for me to watch it through your eyes.
Yeah.
Because I was about your age when they went to the NBA Finals in 1999. I was a little bit younger, but still. So you experienced that. Here's the question. Of all the other teams that you unfortunately or fortunately, because we haven't, like Utah football's had a really good era, right?
Totally. Yeah.
The Jazz, I think, are about to be better. RSL hasn't lifted a trophy since 2009. But you were there for that.
I was.
So you did see that championship. Of all the teams that you were raised to cheer for, the one team you would like to win a championship is which team and why? This
is really easy for me. I could actually rank them. I have a note in my phone ranking all of the teams. But it is Utah football.
Yeah.
It is. It's like it is the one. I still I like to get caught up in the emotion a little bit. But there's really only one team that I can't control myself with, and it's Utah football.
I stress watch the Utes as well.
Yes, 100%. And it's still fun to see. Like, it was so fun to see the Knicks win. Mm-hmm. And it's fun to see the Jazz be good, and it's fun to see RSL be good. Another one, I actually had a double whammy this year, which has never happened. Arsenal.
That's right.
I'm a big Arsenal Gunners fan.
I'm glad you went on your own there.
I am too.
Yeah.
Oh, he's a Tottenham guy for people. I don't know how much you cover the Premier League on this show, and I would steer away from it as well if I was a Tottenham fan. That's the one where we're pretty divided, and thank goodness I chose the Gunners. So I got to have the Knicks and Arsenal both win this year, which has been so fun. But I remember the Pac-12 championship game we lost against Oregon when we were really. I mean, you just had Zach on the show. That team was so good. Yeah. And if we had the 12-team playoff format in that year, I think we still have. I genuinely believe we have a chance that year. But I remember I was on my mission when we lost that game, and I didn't do any work for a week.
Yeah.
I was like legitimately depressed, and I was like shocked that I still had those emotions connected to that team.
Yeah.
But I like that's the one team still that really will rattle me.
One of my favorite pictures I have of you, you must have been 9 or 10, is when Utah beat Stanford. When Stanford was the number 4 team in the country, you're holding up the U.
So awesome.
I think you're wearing a Matt Asiata jersey.
I think you're right.
All right, pal. Love you. Good to see you, okay?
Love you too.
It's my son, Connor Checketts. The podcast is Like a Rock. Search for it, then follow him on Instagram where he has all the links at Connor Checketts 3. Gordon Monson is going to join us live in studio coming up. I do want to tell you about our friends at Advanced Window Products Summer Window Special Time. So here's the deal. If your house is hot, but you have the air conditioning jacked up, it is your windows. If it's wintertime and your house is cold and you have the heater jacked up, you need new windows. And our friends at Advanced Window Products, remember this is Nate Orchard, the mayor of Sac Lake City, and his buddy Jake Weber. They have a summer window special going on right now where you can save $2,500 when you purchase 10 windows or more. Discounts can be prorated for fewer than 10 windows. They offer lifetime guarantees. They've been doing this forever. Get new windows, save a bunch of money with our friends at Advanced Window Products. Also want to let you know that Camp Scally is underway for Utah football. For the best coverage of Utes Fall Camp, keep it tuned into the Sean O'Connell Show and The Drive with Spence Checketts, or visit ESPN700sports.com. Camp Scally is brought to you by CenXL JBR, Beer Bar, Citron Cooperman, Big O Tires, Sound Warehouse, and your Utah Toyota dealers on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Gordon Monson live in studio coming up next on ESPN 700. All right, Frank Dolce coming up in about an hour from now. So stay tuned for that. Dolly Parton passed away today at the age of 80. Sad news for a titan of a woman who did a lot of things for her community. So Porter, of course, is right, in his wheelhouse as our resident country music fan, rocking a little Dolly Parton today. And Gordon Monson joins us live in studio once again. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm just fine. How are you, Spence?
Any Dolly Parton knowledge? I know you're not a huge country music, although you have been kind of converted by Lisa and the girls, right, to some country?
A little bit. But Dolly Parton, I mean, how can you not like Dolly Parton?
Yeah.
I mean, all the good things that she did to help other people and just a star. I mean, I'm not sure that I loved her music as much as some others, but I mean, nothing but respect.
We don't have to diminish her music the day she passes, Gordon. You have a little respect for someone who
I liked her.
Okay.
I mean, I liked her, and, she was just a good person. That's the way it seemed. Now, I don't know. Sometimes celebrities that have this great image, there's a darker side somewhere, but I haven't heard anything from anyone about that. So she must be clean.
Do you want to do some intel and some research to find out if you can dig up some dirt on Dolly Parton the day she passed away? Jeez, man.
No, I don't. I have no intention of doing that, nor do I have any desire to do that.
Okay.
I just like Dolly. I mean, same as everyone else. I mean, who doesn't? Name me one person that doesn't like Dolly Parton.
You, apparently.
No,
Jeez.
No, I do.
I don't really like her music, but, we'll see.
No, well, I mean, she did Jolene, right?
She did.
A good song.
Great song. Leave it to Gordon on the day someone passes.
No, come on. I'm not going to go there.
Are you growing the beard out?
A little bit.
Okay.
A little bit.
Or are we just forgetting to shave?
That might be part of it, too.
Okay. All right.
But, no, I mean, let's have respect for Dolly
Oh,
Parton.
no, don't turn it around now. That's my whole thing. Just never fails, man.
No, I mean, she used to donate to all kinds of causes to help other people out.
Yeah.
And how can you not like that?
Yes.
And she was an accomplished musician. I mean, let's say that.
Okay.
Or singer. Did she play anything?
No, I believe she just sang 50 studio albums. 50. Wow. It's a wild number.
And she had her own amusement park?
She built 7 hospitals. Pretty impressive.
That's what I'm talking about. If the world should be filled with people like that. If you have the opportunity to give like that, man, give. And that's what she did. So, I mean, I wonder how much money she made in her life. It had to be a lot.
Oh, I'm sure she did quite well. Yeah, I'm sure.
And then, I mean, I love those stories. When people get a lot, they give a lot. And, I mean, 80. I thought she would last longer than this. Did she have some illness?
I don't know. We'll dig into the cause of death later on, Gordon.
That reminds me, who was the famous guy who had on his tombstone? He had, I told you I was sick.
I have no idea. I didn't even know that was a thing. I have no idea.
Yeah, somebody did that.
But just real quick follow-up. You referenced if you're lucky enough to have a lot given to you, then you should give. Am I understand? Okay. Is it fair to say you've had a lot given to you?
Oh, shouldn't I be asking you this question?
No, I'm just curious as to what you give, because you've been given.
I do give. I believe in giving.
Okay, what do you do? What value do you provide to our community, Gordon? Is what I want to know.
Well, I donate to various causes.
Can you name one besides the church?
I don't want to brag about it.
Okay, all right.
I really have a lot of respect for anonymous donors.
Okay.
And I've tried to follow that in my life.
So it's impossible to find out who you're giving to because you've been anonymous this entire time. So anonymous
that's
that
the
it's
other convenient part.
Yes, so anonymous that it's literally never happened. All right. I wanted to look. It feels like I don't know.
Do you have a Kleenex? I need to blow my nose.
Porter, can we get Gordon a Kleenex, please? Unbelievable.
Well, I'm getting emotional over here.
About Dolly?
Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like it. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Oh, I'm tearing up a little bit. And, you know how that
Thank you,
gets me.
Porter.
Thank you, Porter.
Connor, will you film this, please? This is unbelievable. This is going online immediately.
Oh, wait, I got a dab. I got a dab of tears.
No, he's literally blowing his nose is all he's doing. All right. So I don't know if it was the piece you wrote. I don't know if it was all the conversation about the Kalani interview. Well, I should say interviews, multiple, where he clearly was unhappy with the situation down in Provo, promises that have not been delivered. But since you wrote your piece and since we had our conversation, other people have talked about it as well. What do you think happened down there? Because now they've battened down the hatches. Now they've kind of, okay, we're not talking about this anymore. We're all about football right now.
Well, I talked to people before they battened down. Well, maybe they probably battened down the hatches, but I talked to people down there who told me they gave me some specifics about what was lacking. But it's funny because a couple of the people I talked with are close to Kalani, but they said that even they didn't know everything. That Kalani was keeping that between him and the administration, and he wasn't spreading that around. Mm-hmm. He was letting certain things out of the bag, but there were big things and little things. A lot of little things that Kalani thought he was promised that he wanted fulfilled. And who doesn't want it? You know, if you're not going to give it, then don't tell me you're going to give it.
Yeah.
And that's I think the way he felt.
Yeah.
Hey man, I had my opportunity to go do this. It's not like it was some little program somewhere that wouldn't be giving him just about every opportunity to win. And then, so you're tempted to go. You love your school. You love where you work. And then the guys say, hey, okay, look, if you stay, then we'll treat this like a premier football program. Then do it.
Yeah.
And that was his point, I think. And I don't blame him because I don't know anybody who is promised things who is rather upset when that promise isn't fulfilled the way it was said it would be.
Well, and especially, Gordon, the undercurrent is Kalani said no to Penn State.
Yes, that's the thing.
He didn't say no to North Dakota, all due respect. He said no to potentially a top 10 job in college football.
Yep.
So if you're Kalani, you're saying, well, wait a second. I had the potential to get a dream job for the majority of people in my profession. I said no to that to stay here. And if I'm going to say no to that to stay here, you better make sure you deliver what you told me you were going to deliver.
Exactly. That you wrapped up his frame of mind as it's been described to me.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
That's it. And then the other side of it is if you don't, then what happens?
Yeah.
Because if you lose Kalani Sitake, people say, oh, well, you just, you can replace him. I don't think so. Think about what this guy has done over the past number of years, and his connection with people who want to come play for him. And Jay Hill's a great coach. I think he would have done a fine job. But you don't lose Kalani Sitake, especially under those circumstances, and then feel good about yourself or feel good about your institution. So my question now is, what happens? Is there going to be some sort of drag on this moving forward? And I don't know the answer to that. I wonder if the players, they're aware of what's happening. They might not know all the details, but they know that their coach has been somewhat disrespected. Mm. And I imagine they love this guy. So I think that they will sort of rally around him. But, it's like, remember all these pro teams that through the years where there were some sort of disruptions going on and people said, is this a distraction or will you use it to your advantage? And then they use it to their advantage and people say, oh, okay, yeah, that can be done. Well, it can be done at BYU too. It's just that those things need to be solved at some point, Spence, because if they're not, then your coach gets angry. And when your coach gets angry, what effect does that have on the rest of the players?
Knowing Kalani the way you do you think so a few possibilities here. One possibility is the administration got the message and finally stepped up and gave Kalani what he was asking for. One possibility is Kalani himself said, okay, I got the word out. Okay, now everyone knows. It's public. It's in the public square. It's being debated by people. It's being written about by you. It's being talked about on this show. It was even covered by BYU TV who has media members that work for the school that never do, that they don't even talk about anything that is somewhat controversial. We had one guest on, and he said before he jumped on the interview, like, I don't want to talk about it. I'm like, well, if you're coming on this show, we're going to talk about it because we're
How
not.
can you not talk about it?
I asked him the question, and he did the BYU propaganda. Hey, it's not really talked about down here. I'm like, yes, it is. We talked. I heard about it on a BYU show not too long ago. So, maybe Kalani's like, all right, people are talking about it. Goal accomplished. Or the third possibility is Kalani was told by somebody, no more. Because the messaging has completely changed. Why do you think the decision was, whether it was Kalani himself, administration, or maybe he actually got what he was promised? Why do you think the message has changed?
Spence, if someone came to him and said no more without the backup of the promises fulfilled, then screw you.
Yeah.
That doesn't work.
What if that someone works up here?
That makes it more complicated for him because he is a believer.
Right.
Yeah. But still, I mean, a lie's a lie, and I don't care where it's coming from. If it affects you, then you're going to have a problem with that. And I think that will come out in the wash. We'll see. I don't know when it will come out, and maybe it'll come out as a positive, and maybe it'll be a negative. But if it's a negative, then what kind of shadow does that cast on what's going on around here?
Yeah.
I mean, you have a great coach. You have a program that is working now, and you screw that up after everything that you invest in this? That's not right. It's not right. And that kind of stuff really bothers me because I hate it when people lie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think anybody really likes it, but do you tolerate lies? Like, Spence, if I promise you something and then I don't deliver, that's going to make you angry, right?
It's the number one pet peeve I have with people. I can't have relationships with people that aren't truthful because you don't know where you stand. And then you have no idea what they're saying when you're not around. Right? Like if somebody is willing to deceive you, if somebody is willing to not deliver on the promises that they're making, or just are at the whims of their mood swings every single day, it's impossible to have that person in your life because you have no idea. Are you one comment away from them blowing up on you? Are you one wrong text message away of catching them in a bad mood and suddenly chaos ensues? It's honestly the number one thing, whether it's friendships, relationships, family, work. Just shoot me straight. Stab me in the front.
I believe that that's the way. Knowing you as long as I have, I can see that is true to who you are. You mentioned friendships. Spence, what is the number one key to having a real friendship? What word comes to mind?
Honest communication, 2 words. Honest communication.
For me, it's trust.
Trust is a great one.
Those two things are related.
Yeah.
And if the people you work for, the people that you love, that you thought you loved, at this institution that you love, and you're following in the footsteps of your hero, who was Lavelle Edwards, you want that to be completely aligned. And if it's not aligned, then you got trouble, and that's not going to solve itself. It needs to get worked through, and I imagine it will be. But it really, I just scratching my head saying, why wasn't it already?
Yeah, it's fair.
When you don't have little things, when you don't have the practice field you want, that is up to snuff. If you don't have the indoor turf that you want, if you don't have the facility that you want to be able to treat your players the way they need to be treated because they could have gone somewhere else, and other guys who are lining up who might want to come to your program to play for you, they pay attention to that stuff.
Yeah.
And Kalani's sitting there going, I think some of it had to do with him personally, but I think there was a whole lot of it that had to do with just the welfare of the entire football program.
The great Scottish author George MacDonald once wrote, "To be trusted is a greater compliment than to be loved."
Yeah.
They kind of go hand in hand, don't they?
Yeah, they do. I don't know how you can love someone if there's no trust in it.
Yeah.
Think about that. All your listeners out there, wherever you are, driving in your car, where you're at home or at work, wherever you are, think about the people in your life and think about whether that trust word works.
Yeah.
And that's true. You said it perfectly. Friendships, work relationships, bosses, just anybody.
Yeah.
People you do business with. Everything is dependent on that. And, the sad thing about it is that it's in short supply these days.
Yeah.
Too short, in my opinion.
Yeah. Any more insight on how much of I do feel it might be kind of unfair, unless it's true, but it was framed as Kalani versus Brian. It was Kalani Sitake on one side and Brian Santiago on the other. Any further insight on that dynamic?
Yeah, it's that it went far past that. I was told by people who would know that Kalani was ticked off, royally ticked off, not just at Brian Santiago, but at the top administrators at the school. So it went past that. I don't know what Brian said. He was obviously he was the front man in this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
And so he's going to take heat if things go south a little bit. But that's the one thing I'm sure of. It goes past him.
Well, one of the complications of being an athletic director, and in this day and age, they're paid very well. And one of the reasons they're paid very well is they do have to run interference between coaches and administration often, and that causes friction. Dr. Hill has become a friend and a really good guest in studio over the past few years. He did write a book. Dr. Hill famously got into it with Majerus all the time, and some uncomfortable dynamics with the ending with Mac, and even with Witt. Dr. Hill and Witt would kind of bash heads a little bit, and Mark Harlan and Kyle had their thing, and athletic directors across the country are dealing with highly paid college football coaches that are more powerful than they are, whether they like it or not. It's not easy when somebody reports to you, unless the football coaches are reporting to the presidents of the university now. But if you're the athletic director and one of your employees makes 7 times as much as you do and could essentially have your job if he decided to cause an issue, like a lot of these powerful coaches have that type of dynamic, it's probably difficult to
be the boss.
Ask that, like, hey, I need you on a Zoom meeting at 5:30 a.m. with some boosters tomorrow. Nope, I'm good. It's got to be a difficult dynamic.
Think about someone telling Nick Saban that.
No chance.
Yeah, I mean,
the governor of Alabama couldn't have told Nick Saban that at his height.
And now he's playing bridge with his wife and friends.
It's probably good to be Nick Saban.
Probably Miss Terry has him out there learning card games. But, I remember, I don't think Chris would mind me telling this story, but I remember when I was talking to Rick Majerus in the early days, and Rick was recruiting a kid that had a criminal record. And he was trying to sell it that he was a good kid. And so I talked to Chris, and Chris just said, "What did Rick say? He was like throwing his hands in the air, like what happened now, But that's what happens when you have powerful coaches and an athletic director. And you're right, Chris did have those battles. He had the battles. He had the battles with all those guys, with Majerus. He had the battles with Whittingham, and I'm not sure that that's always unhealthy. I think varying points of view are good as long as it's taken care of properly at some point, because you're on the same team supposedly. Right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so it has to be worked out. I mean, I know someone who's a marriage therapist, a family therapist.
Let's dig into this.
And
can't wait.
And she said that people are going to have differences. All they have to do is be resolved. If they're not resolved, then the whole thing spins out of control.
Yeah.
This is my daughter, by the way, who's the therapist.
Shout out Erin.
Yeah.
She's very good at her job.
She is very good. And it's funny that people, because everybody is different. Athletic director thinks of things, has different pressures than the coach does. Everybody has pressures, but they're different.
Yeah.
And so now you've got this thing going on, and you're clashing against one another because you have varying points of view. Well, that's fine as long as you work it through.
Yeah.
And that was what was so puzzling about what happened in the BYU case. Is this is something that I think could have been worked through, should have been worked through. When you tell a fib, when you tell a lie, when you make a promise and it isn't, it's ruptured, then that trust is ruptured, and that needs to be fixed quick. And that's what I'm figuring will happen down there. If it doesn't, then you might lose your coach.
Yeah. Maybe I need to go see Aaron because I can't figure this stuff out.
Oh, she's good, man.
Maybe
She's
Aaron
really
has
good.
the secret. She did build me a diet plan once. She was good at that too. I think I still have it. I followed it for
Well,
a
you
while.
look very fit, so it must have it worked. So I don't know. I think there's a lesson in this for everybody.
For
You know,
sure.
just
Yeah.
try in your dealings with people. Try to be upright with the whole thing. And if you make a mistake, which we all do, then fix it as quickly as you can. And if the other person is unwilling to fix it, then okay, then that's water under the bridge. It's gone.
Yeah, and cut people some slack. Even if you're in a bad mood, even if something's going on with you.
Let's play this out a little bit. If Brian Santiago made some promises, he's under pressure. He doesn't want to lose his coach, or maybe he thought he could just hire Jay Hill. I don't know what he thought.
He did,
but if he's feeling pressure, then he may say some things in order. And this is complete speculation. He might say some things, make promises that are difficult for him to keep. But that's not the way to go. And we've seen the result of that. I think Kalani is not a complainer. He will say some things privately sometimes, but not publicly. If he goes public with it, then it's reached its breaking point.
Did Dr. Hill ever get sideways with Urban at all, or was that just 2 years where everything seemed really, really good up there?
That's a good question.
I mean, the ending was ultimately just Urban getting an incredible job offer. I don't know that anyone ever thought he was long for this market, especially after that undefeated season.
Yeah, he may have told some lies along the way, Urban liar, to certain people. I know he made promises to certain boosters that if they did this, and this, then he would stay as long as he could keep winning.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'll tell you, Spence, one time I did, when I was working in L.A., I did a story about lying. And I'll never forget because I talked to all these people, and I wrote this big, long story about it, and CBS picked up on it, and they featured it. And I talked to all these experts, and it's so common. Lying is so common.
Mm-hmm.
And then they have compulsive liars who just lie just to lie.
They're eating a turkey sandwich. They say it's ham. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it was fascinating, the human nature of falsehood, of doing everything that ruptures trust. That's a real thing. And everybody who's listening to this conversation right now, Spence, has felt this in one way or another.
Yeah.
Or made mistakes with it themselves. So fix it. That's the only thing I can say. Fix it as best you can.
I just remembered what you said about Shelley Meyer on our old radio show.
I like Shelley. She was a really nice person.
Do you remember what you said?
Well, there's a couple things I just thought of that I might have regretted saying publicly. But no, it's not what you're thinking. But
I just remembered it because Urban came back to have some sort of honor.
This was an unfortunate moment for me.
It's been 10 years. It was so rude. Oh, I just remember. You're like, what happened to her? I'm like, what do you mean? And then you realize what you're doing. You're like, well, it's been 10 years. It's like, unbelievable. All right, we'll catch a break.
I apologize, Shelley, wherever you are.
I'm sure she's tuned in. All right, we'll catch a break. But before we do, I want to tell you about our friends at Big O Tires. High temperatures mean low prices at Big O Tires. Tires and wheels, including trucks and trailers, brakes, alignments, batteries, oil, lube, and filters. Routine services and fluids, suspension and front ends. I can't believe you said that on air. Off-road accessories, shocks, struts, lifts, and level kits. Ask about our Healthy Car Special, packed with essential checkups to keep you road ready all year. Financing options for any budget and any situation. Ensure you get the best tires at the best price. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires today or visit bigotires.com to find a store near you. Schedule an appointment online. All August long, you can save up to $120 instantly on select Nitto, Nexen, and Sumitomo tires. Plus, get a $100 mail-in rebate on purchases of $599 or more when you use your Big O Tires and Service credit card. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Terms apply. See stores for details now through August the 31st. More with Gordon coming up next.
Is this? My mom used to say that she would go 10 years without aging, and then in 1 year she'd age 10 years.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe that might have been.
The mic is still on.
Oh.
More with Gordon coming up next on
Yikes.
ESPN 700. All right, one more segment with Gordon Monson live in studio. Frank Dolce is going to join us. Are we going to be respectful of this segment of Dolly as she's passed?
Oh, man, who doesn't like Dolly Parton?
Well, we learned last segment that it was you.
I wasn't always a big fan of all the music, but I always had great respect for Dolly.
Yes.
And she was an American icon.
She was, and she passed today in Nashville at the age of 80. Certainly a life well lived, gave a lot to her community, rose from poverty to turn into this powerhouse of a musician and a person. So sad day.
Have you spent any time in Nashville?
I've been to Nashville a couple times. It's cool. Yeah. If you've never been to Nashville, I would encourage a good week-long visit. It's a cool spot.
Yeah, I was just there for a few days, but went down to, what's the street called where all the, is it Broadway?
I'll look it up.
Anyway, this is like old times. I would ask a question. You'd have to look it up. That's cool. You know what I found out in going to Nashville is there's a lot of musical talent in the world.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
You wander into a random bar, and you would think Lower Broadway. You would think you're listening to the biggest country music superstar out there. It's just one of a million people trying to make it down there. But they're all very talented. You're right.
My wife and I went into one of the places. We were just sampling all of them, or a lot of them. We went in there and sat down, and this really talented woman was singing. And she said she came out. You know how they bring the bucket around for everyone to pitch in.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I'm a giver, And so I wanted to
Still
give.
Waiting for examples, but.
So I gave in that case. And she said she was just here. She was here in Salt Lake performing.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Very cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I always like to talk about the pieces you write about, or the pieces you write and the topics you write about, because I think it's always interesting. You bring an interesting angle, and of course, you're very good at your job. It's why you've carved out this piece of real estate in this business. I haven't talked about this on air very much, mostly because I don't really want to give it oxygen, because I really feel like this person is out for attention, and that's all. Enes Kanter is not here to fight for a cause. He is not here to protect women. Okay, that's been the narrative with the far right. The problem in this country is when topics become politicized, they jump the shark and people can't talk about it decently. It's just hurling insults and then taking a kernel of truth that we all believe in. We all believe that women should be protected. Okay, we all believe that. Mm-hmm. And then using that as a smokescreen to jump into other issues that are straw men. That really don't, they're not real, okay? Then the outrage is politicized and people decide they want to score political points. Enes Kanter is not your hero. I will start with a story that is real. When Enes was here with the Jazz, I was at a Jazz practice, and I'd noticed that Enes in college was a very skilled offensive player, and he was a very high draft pick, number 3 overall by the Jazz, because he had really good offensive footwork. He could score around the basket. He had a decent face-up jump shot, and he was a pretty solid rebounder. He could not play defense to save his life. It's why he never lasted anywhere in the NBA. And I was at a Jazz practice. This was when Rudy Gobert had started to elevate and started to evolve. And it became pretty clear that the Jazz needed to play Rudy. And when Enes played, the Jazz were a sieve defensively. They just couldn't play him anymore. So I'm at a practice. I am watching Enes Kanter trip over his feet, trying to learn the most basic defensive pick-and-roll premise. And I asked the coach, I said, it doesn't feel like Enes is getting any better at this. And he turned to me and he said, Enes Kanter is a dumb person. He said, Enes is just a dumb person. He can't figure it out. He will not listen. He's just dumb. He remains dumb. Okay, and he is doing this for attention. He's doing this for outrage. He is doing this to stay relevant in a spot in his life where he has nothing left to offer. That's what this is, full stop. He is not your hero. He is not here to stand up for women. And if you have been co-opted into believing that, you're listening and watching dumb people. Your thoughts?
Very well said. And my main problem with what he's doing is that it is done for political reasons. It is done for an agenda. It's not done for what you said and what some people are claiming, that he's this great warrior for women. That's not what this is about. Besides, man, I have talked to so many people on this topic, And the experts, the people who do the research on such topics, they're not sure about what's going on. There is disagreement there. So I hate it when people just make these blanket statements that is so black and white. You know, I'll never forget this researcher who is very well respected, and he said to me, he said, I can tell you this much. He said, trans women are not biological men. That's what he said.
Mm-hmm.
He's the expert.
Yeah.
And then others might say something different. But to have Enes Kanter come in and first of all, this doesn't even apply to the WNBA because there are no trans women in the NBA, in the WNBA. This isn't a thing. People want to make it a thing. They want to make it a problem. They want to make it an issue for the very reasons that you already explained. And so and then they use it as a hammer. They use it as a hammer to go after, to project themselves in a certain direction, like this is the biggest issue in the world when it affects a very small number of people. And that's unfortunate because I've also talked with those who are adversely affected by this, the families, the individuals, the kids that are going through this process, and it's a very real thing for them. They're not out cavalierly deciding, you know, some boy out there isn't going, hey, you know, I can't win a trophy, so I'm gonna go trans on this. That's not the way it happens. It's much more complicated than that, and I feel for those people because they're already marginalized in so many ways. And so when this topic comes up and it's batted around back and forth, those folks are stuck in the middle, and I feel bad for them. I'm sorry if your kid ever goes up against a trans girl and you think that that's some blockage for your kid to win. I have 5 daughters. They were all athletes, Spence, much better than I was, and they all played high-level sports. And I asked them, I said, how would you feel about going up against a trans girl in your high school or your competitions? And they all said, no big deal. That was their opinion. And so when I have these people who come running and say, well, your daughters were athletes, don't you want them protected from having to play against boys? Well, I mean, that's not the way it usually works. There might be an isolated case here or there, but very few. And so to make this some national issue as though it's plaguing our country is a joke. And a sad joke.
He made a mockery of himself over the weekend when he walked into Wintrust Arena with a T-shirt and a grievance, okay? The T-shirt said, woman, noun, adult, human, female. It's a slogan that's built for agitation and conversation. He wasn't there to defend women. He was there to be seen. Can we just bottom line this, please? This is not your hero. And I think it's very easy to hold a couple of thoughts in your head. The trans community deserves people to be kind.
Yes.
And men should not play women's sports. Both things are easy to say, and both thoughts are easy to hold in your head. We have weight classes in boxing, too. There's a reason why a 220-pound boxer doesn't fight a boxer who's 140 pounds. There's a reason why there are women's sports and men's sports. Men should not be allowed to compete against women. That's easy to say out loud, and the trans community deserves people to be kind to them. And the handful of isolated incidents that you're talking about, not on board. If there is a trans woman out there that decides that they want to transition in the name of competing against women, that should not be allowed. I firmly believe that to be true. But to use those isolated incidents to manufacture this straw man outrage and make this guy your hero, you are not seeing the forest through the trees. You have been co-opted into believing into something that simply is not real.
Well said. And I'll say this. I'll go back to your original comment, because it's a thought that went through my mind as well when I was considering whether to write anything on this. I've written about it in the past. I haven't always been right on every point of it, but I have written about it. And I thought to myself when I saw what Enes was doing, and then Mike Lee pops in with the whole thing too, do I do this? Do I really give this oxygen?
Yeah.
Do I really give Ennis Cantor, whether it's good pub or bad pub, do I really want to do this? And I really didn't do it, but I do think that the points that you just made need to be pointed out over and over and over again until it gets through to a public that wants to politicize this thing sometimes and is afraid of things that aren't really a problem.
It's right out of the playbook where you utilize something that really, quite frankly, most everybody agrees upon. Like, if we have criminals in our country from other places, they need to go back to where they're from. Kids should not be in cages, and ICE should not be shooting people in the street. Should criminals that come into America and utilize our society for their illegal gain be deported? Yes, I believe that to be true. Should families be ripped apart and have kids in cages and give ICE carte blanche to shoot people in the street? No, that should not be allowed.
But too often they're merged.
That's the muddy the waters and distract everybody from things that are actually going on. And the things that are actually going on with the current administration are rather terrifying. And people are just not paying attention because it's stuff like this that is co-opted, and suddenly it's thrown out there, and then for-profit cable news channels use the messaging to distract people from the things that are really going on that are actually problematic.
So do you believe, Spence, that this can be smoothed over? Can this be, is there a remedy for this? Because you're right. These certain cable news networks, or whatever you want to call them, they're profiting off what they're doing. They're profiting off the division they're creating. And politicians do that too. And that is destructive to our country. So can that be fixed?
I have no idea. I mean, I think we need an entire reset. There's a reason Rupert Murdoch was kicked out of his home country of Australia and said, you can't do business in the UK. Because we know that you're incendiary and all you're trying to do is manufacture rage and manufacture hate and pit citizens against each other for your profit. He wasn't allowed to do business, and he was kicked out of his country. And then, he creates, the news channel. And look, all of these for-profit news channels are not here to unify. The social media algorithm reacts to rage and reacts to hate and reacts to engagement. And hate tends to bring more engagement, and rage tends to bring more engagement than anything that's uniting us. We're all being distracted by bad actors that are in their seat to profit themselves and their families, and they're not here to save America or make it great again. Let's be clear.
Okay, so will voters learn their lesson, and will they rectify it? Will they be allowed to rectify it in the midterms and beyond? I don't know. I want to be optimistic about this, Spence, but I do worry about this because I remember a discussion you and I had way back before a certain president was elected the first time. And I think that you had brought up some points that were very accurate. And I said, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Do you remember this conversation?
I'll never forget it.
And I'm thinking to myself, I was wrong. This is destructive in so many ways, in ways that I've never seen in my life. And I'm 7 decades now. And I've seen a lot of things, but I haven't seen this, and I haven't seen it done on purpose by conspiring men who are seeking to hold on to power, and it's not good for our country. And I hope that I hope for a moderate can come along and bring everybody together, and I don't know how that's going to happen.
Yeah, the hope is the reaction, whether it's right or left, is more centrist.
Yeah.
Because the people on the margins of both parties, I cannot stand the extremism. I'm talking about both sides. Mm-hmm. It has jumped the shark. It makes conversation impossible. It's ripped apart families. It's ripped apart communities. And ultimately, it's allowed the people in power to profit to the tune of billions and billions of dollars, which is all they care about. That's it.
You mean corruption?
Worse than we've ever seen by far. And then it tends to lead to these conversations that we're having as it permeates into sport about the issues that, again, these are straw man issues. You are yelling about something that honestly does not affect the majority of society. And so it motivates this idiot, because Ennis is a dumb person, to utilize the moment. Royce White, who is trying to stay in public office so he can avoid paying child support to a woman he beat. Look it up. These are not your heroes. These are bad actors, and some of them are straight up bad, morally corrupt individuals. And it sucks because I love America. Like, I love traveling overseas. I love coming home. I'm not one that's like, I'm moving to Canada. No, I want to stay here. I want the America that I was told we could have with this great, republic that's been built over 250 years and maybe the most brilliant idea that's ever been brought to the world.
A great experiment.
Right. And I don't want to believe that we are crumbling right in front of our eyes. And some people believe that we are. And I don't want to get there. I really don't.
It's worse than I've ever seen it in my lifetime. And there have been differences in the past, Spence. I mean, there have been people who have argued back and forth, and good-minded people who want good things to happen, and they just disagree. But now it's to the point where I know that there are certain actors who are in positions of power. But what I don't, and I get that there can be people who are corrupt in those positions. What I do not understand are the enablers, the people, the sycophants, who allow it to happen. And I understand that they're trying to hold on to power too.
That's the deal. That's all it is. Because what are these idiots going to do if they lose their seat? And anyone who's brave enough to speak up they've lost their job. The highway is littered with bodies at this point of people that are finally brave enough to speak up. They lose their political power and they lose their seat and they wander through life figuring out what's next.
Spence, I know you never liked this. You were never an arguer on the show. You didn't really, you thought that was an easy, just a debate and take a side, right? Mm-hmm. Divide up an issue and take a side. I didn't mind it as long as there was either a playfulness to it or some usefulness to it. But now I don't even like it anymore. I'm so tired of dispute because I see it every day. Mm-hmm. in very important ways that are destructive to our communities. And so it's not fun anymore. Mm-hmm. It's too serious.
Yeah.
It affects too many lives in a negative way.
Well, and the other thing that's just so, it just makes my head hurt. Like, a lot of the people that are claiming they're here to protect women have done the worst possible things to them in their past.
Yeah.
Ennis used to go to Olive Garden. He would tweet.
Yeah, I remember that.
Any blondes want to meet me at Olive Garden right now?
I remember.
Like, he was known as somebody that was a predator in this community to women. And this is your hero? This is the guy you're attaching yourself to? Really? You think he's here for anything other than attention, engagement, and to stay relevant? You have been lied to. Period. End of story.
Along those lines, Spence, how do you think fans, quote unquote, fans would react if they knew a whole lot more details about the people they cheer for?
Yeah, you don't want to know. Not with all of them. I mean, I think John Stockton was a very decent husband and father. I think he still is. I could give you a ton of examples. Allen Houston, who played for the Knicks, is the best person you'll ever meet. But look, the dirty little secret, like the story that came out about Jed York, the owner of the 49ers, who got arrested at a mobile home facility in Youngstown, Ohio, for being willing to pay a hooker $140 to have sex with him. This is a billionaire. Bob Kraft is arrested at a massage parlor in Tampa. Like the real stuff that actually goes on. And, certain people in this community that made a name for themselves in the sporting ecosystem are included in this list. I think you'd be let down. That's why they always don't meet your heroes, right? The old saying.
There are certain jazz players, and I'm not going to throw them all under the bus, but there were some that, let's just say it, you wouldn't want them to be alone with your daughters.
Right.
And that happens sometimes. But there are fans who also say, I don't care about any of that.
Yes,
I
plenty.
just care about the sport. I just care about what happens on the court, on the field, on the diamond, on the pitch. That's all they care about.
Yeah.
That's all they want to care about. And maybe the reason is because they don't want to have to go through that trauma of not rooting for their hometown team because they don't like that guy because of what he did in his personal life.
Right. And those people have already changed the station by now, let's be clear. But I do think, for me, I think the bottom line with a lot of sports fans is people are just trying to get through the day. and people, they get the alert on the phone, and it's like, wait, we're at war now, and it's Benjamin Netanyahu, and it's like we're in bed. Like, what's going on? Like, Epstein files this, trying to keep my job that, and then you want to get home and you want to watch a damn basketball game. And that's why when this stuff spills over into our space, I just get annoyed. Like, when I saw the end of stuff, I'm like, this clown. Like, now at some point, I'm going to have to talk about it. At some point, I'm going to have to, be front-facing about this. Leave us alone. Like, keep all this stuff out of the space. And when it permeates over into an unavoidable conversation that people seem to be so bad at having, and then it's laced into scoring political points and dunking on your opponent, we lose the ability just to be decent with each other.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I remember, Spence, clearly, the day that you and I were getting ready, we were excited about doing a show, and we found out about Sandusky at Penn State.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah, horrible.
I mean, that was just like, we were just sitting there looking at each other like, I can't believe we have to talk about this.
Yeah.
But you have to.
Mm-hmm.
You can't just ignore it.
Yeah.
And it was disheartening.
Yeah.
To have to deal with that. And you were very articulate in how you explained your point of view on it. But and it was good to have that information out there to our listeners, but hard. Just a hard thing to do.
Very hard. And I've never been one to shy away from hard topics, because I do think the minute we stop talking about them, then we are in trouble. Now, to your point, it's exhausting, and we're not very good at it these days. And I do think it is a spillover effect of the current administration. I believe that. I always have. I'll never change my mind on that.
I agree with you. And what you said there about, those people are already changed the channel by now. Mm-hmm. That is so unfortunate.
Yeah.
That we can't have conversations that where people can express concerns or talk about a subject, even if you agree with it or disagree with it. But it doesn't mean you have to hammer people with it. It doesn't mean you have to. I mean, if someone is a complete idiot, and I mean, you articulated it, and I articulated it in my column, and this Cantor's he's a dope.
Yeah.
And yet, here we are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe you want to ignore it. Maybe on this one we could have. But I think the message that you expressed earlier is important for people to hear and for people to think about.
Well, the people that have changed the station most likely have had certain sayings or certain, tactics literally leaked inside of their brain, where it's like, oh, it's the woke left again, or he has Trump derangement syndrome. No, those things have been taught to you to say things to us to distract you from them.
Right.
That's what's happening.
And oftentimes exactly what certain claims that are made, what they are accusing others of doing is the exact thing that they do.
Yeah.
So it's just like my wife, bless her heart, wonderful person. Love you, Lisa. She tries to listen to different points of view so she can come to her own conclusion.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to be brainwashed, I guess, for lack of a better term, by any one particular point of view.
Right.
And I think that is useful. I wish everybody did that.
Yeah.
So that then they could come to their own conclusion without just the same old talking points that they hear from certain broadcasters.
If we had more Lisas, we'd all be in a good spot. All right. That's going to do it, man. Appreciate your willingness, as always, to delve into these topics. It's not easy, but, I think it's important. I really do.
Always good, Spence. Thanks for having me.
The great Gordon Monson, Frank Dolce, is going to join us coming up next. I want to let you know that Camp Scally is underway for Utah football. For the best coverage of Utes fall camp, keep it tuned into the Sean O'Connell Show and The Drive every day. Or visit ESPN700sports.com. Camp Scally is brought to you by CenXL JBR, Beer Bar, Citron Cooperman, Big O Tires, Sound Warehouse, and your Utah Toyota dealers on your home of the Utes, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Our good friends at Big O Tires want to let you know that high temperatures mean low prices. All sorts of wheels, brakes, alignments, batteries, oil, lube, filters. Check them out. Off-road accessories. Ask about the Healthy Car Special, packed with essential checkups to keep you road ready all year. Great financing options. Stop by your locally owned and operated Big O Tires or visit bigotires.com. All August long, save up to $120 instantly on select Nitto, Nexon, and Sumitomo tires. Get a $100 mail-in rebate on purchases of $599 or more when you use your Big O Tires and service card. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Terms apply. See stores for details now through August 31st. Frank Dolce up next on ESPN 700. All right, final segment of the program. Paying a little homage today to Dolly Parton, passed away at the age of 80 in Nashville. What a life. Well lived. Obviously, a very successful singer-songwriter, musician, but just a titan as far as just a person. Tried to do good by others and help her community. So, paying a little honor to Dolly Parton today. I want to let you know that our friends at America First Credit Union have a great offer for you. You can make payday effortless by enrolling in direct deposit with America First. Get your paycheck deposited automatically into your account so you can have access to your money faster and avoid the hassle of manual deposits. Getting paid shouldn't take extra effort. Direct deposit ensures your money goes straight into your account automatically, giving you faster access to your funds and one less thing to worry about every payday. Convenience. Set it up once and enjoy automatic deposits every payday. Faster access, get access to your money sooner without waiting on manual deposits. Seamless experience, easy setup through digital banking with a smooth, reliable process. Enroll in direct deposit today and make payday effortless. Set it up through online or mobile banking. Visit a branch or contact us for assistance. All right, RSL in action tonight. Leagues Cup action. It is the quarterfinals. It is actually a big match for RSL. Unfortunately, they are in Colorado against Club Leon. It is at 8:30. I believe you can see it on Apple Television tonight. I think Donnie's actually on the call. So RSL actually earned the right to host this match, but Noah Khan. They booked the Noah Khan concert a year ago. And, Porter, is it bad that I'm going to the show? Because this could be known as the Noah Khan game tonight.
You should be in Commerce City, Colorado this weekend.
I was in Orlando with them last weekend. I've had my fill of the RSL thing for a minute.
Are you bleeding claret and cobalt or
always? Not? I always bleed claret and cobalt. Let's be very clear about that, as you know.
All right.
We just had a 6-hour plane delay. That's why I was panicking, texting you to see if you could fill in for me on TV.
Sorry about that.
I was supposed to land at 1:30. And then it turned into 6:30. And then Dave was like, hey, can you film it? Can you just do it live at 10:35? I'm like, totally. I'll be home by then. Midnight.
Ooh.
It was a rough travel day, to be very clear. But anyway, so you get a little RSL action tonight. We are getting closer and closer to being able to say officially it is 1 week away from Utah football, as Idaho will be in town next Thursday the 3rd. The Big Ten has officially banned NFL players from return. We talked a lot about that earlier. The Nam Yakov story, who by all accounts could have been the best player for Utah basketball this year, continues just to be ridiculous. He is 21 years old. He's never played a minute of collegiate basketball, and he's been ruled ineligible for the upcoming season. And according to multiple reports, he's now going to pursue a professional career. I'll reiterate what I said earlier. If you are Mark Harlan, if you are Taylor Randall, do you look at finding a judge that can grant an injunction to make Yakov eligible for the Utes this year? It is a massive, massive hypocritical ruling that's inconsistent with the other rulings they've allowed players who have played in the NBA Summer League ecosystems are allowed to play basketball. Jackson Kohler, who just transferred, quote-unquote, from Michigan State to BYU, was on the Jazz Summer League team. This makes zero sense. But we got to get out of here. So, Porter, before we say goodnight, what's coming up on a Wednesday edition of the show?
Wednesday edition of The Drive, halfway through your work week. We'll talk some Utes from the Salt Lake Tribune. It's Jason Batakiao. Bill Riley stops by the program, the voice of the Utes. We had the sideline reporter, Zach Moss. Today, Bill, tomorrow, Sly on Thursday, so we'll knock out the whole broadcast team as we get within a week of football. And then, as you mentioned, RSL Leagues Cup action. We'll see how that goes, and then one of Jason or Kurt likely will be subjected to the show tomorrow.
Subjected to the show?
Well, we'll see how it goes.
Okay, that's fair.
Although the Leagues Cup stuff has been good, the MLS stuff has not. So, good vibes going in.
RSL has not won an MLS game since May 16th. 4 losses, 3 draws. They're down to 8th in the table, but hopefully they can get it done tonight. Special thank you today to Zach Moss, my son Connor Checketts, his new podcast, Like a Rock. Would appreciate it if you would support that. Gordon Monson and Frank Dolce. For any of the sound you missed from the show today, go to the website. It's ESPN700sports.com. Make sure to download the mobile app and take us on the go. You want that app because you can listen to Utah football. It's the ESPN 700 app. So grab that in the App Store. And then for what we do every day in our space, check out the podcast page. It is called The Drive with Spence Checketts. It's available wherever you get your shows. So subscribe, rate, review, say nice things in the comments. After today, I'm sure that's not going to happen, and give us all the stars you can. For Porter, I'm Spence saying goodnight. Have a great Tuesday evening. We'll talk to you on a Wednesday edition of The Drive. And as always, you can catch it right here on ESPN 700.